Started then. All right, let's just wait a minute or so to let people start joining in. Oh, I see people have started to join. So yeah, let's get started. Hi, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to be introducing our speaker, Alyssa Beach from Beach Consulting, who will be talking today about understanding the difference between customer satisfaction and customer experience. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to drop them down below, and we'd love to hear from you about what you think. Over to you, Alyssa.
thank you. So, yes, I'm so happy to be here with everybody talking about my favorite subject. Um, I'll give a little bit of background about myself. So, I've owned and ran my own repair shop for the last 5 years. I own a Napa Auto Pro in Hamilton, Ontario, as well as working on the consulting side of the business for the last 8 years on and off. The consulting side of the business is where my heart is driven. I love working with other shop owners. I love getting the chance to work with service advisors and managers and help them learn to really run a sharp business that has a clear focus on customer experience. When I look back at what made a difference for my shop, it was having a clear focus on providing a customer experience that was different, that was unique, that was going to be memorable. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the difference between customer service and customer experience and what we can do to really elevate the service that we're providing. So, a little bit of where we're going today. Like I said, we'll talk high level to start about the difference between service and experience. We're going to talk briefly about building a culture around experience and what that looks like. We're going to talk about the state of service today and where we're going to make this switch and how important it is to make this kind of a change in our business. And then finally, we're finishing with my favorite two subjects, how to offer a 5-star experience and secret service, which is the real secret sauce between offering an amazing one-of-a-kind experience, something that you just can't find anywhere else. So, to start, I want everybody to think in their head about how much a steak dinner should cost. There's quite a range. We could go get a steak dinner at, a local chain restaurant, and maybe you'd pay, just for the meal, you'd pay maybe $50. But then you go downtown to a major city and you go to a one-off restaurant, you needed a month reservation for it. That same plate of steak, all of a sudden, we could see it reasonably costing $200. What about a night at a hotel? Sure, you can get a night at a hotel for $150 a night, but can we also get a night out at a hotel for $1,000 a night? Is that a feasible thing for us to imagine? Of course. What about a 0W20 oil change? Now, when we think about what that costs and what that should cost in the range, I'm sure all of us, that number is pretty similar. We're all probably in that, $100, $150 range. It's a pretty narrow scope. Why can these other businesses offer a service that has such a range, such a dynamic range in price? Well, the answer is pretty clear. The answer lies in the experience that is being provided that goes alongside those services. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the difference between service and experience. Because it wasn't that long ago that the auto industry underwent and survived a crisis. And when you look at what's going on in the world, it's it's up in the air whether something like that could come again. And there's only really one way to survive this crisis. It's to offer an experience that your customers can't find anywhere else. Because when we start offering an amazing experience, we start entering the realm where price sensitivity, that becomes less and less important. Your customers, they don't know what the shop down the road charges because they don't care to know. They just know that they're not going to find a service like you offer. You are offering something different. Customer service is what you do, or customer experience is how you do it. So let's talk about the word service and what that means to us. So service is delivering the product or the service as requested. We have expectations of service. We expect it to be on time. We expect it to be accurate. We expect it to be professional. When it comes to service, it's responding to a request. It's not anticipatory, it's reactive. It's you're receiving what you pay for. It's kind of that bare minimum. You ask for something, you receive it. Service isn't memorable. Service is only memorable when something goes wrong, when something's omitted, when something's forgotten, when something's not on time. But when service goes right, it's mundane. We receive what we asked for and we walk away and we never think about it again. Where when we move to an experience, we take that transactionary service, the service that is a one-for-one, I give you money, you give me my product, and we're moving to a world where instead of a transaction, we're offering an interaction that means something. And how do we create an interaction that becomes an experience? Well, the dictionary defines an experience as an event or an occurrence which leaves an impression on somebody. So I'm talking about the human touch, something that's going to leave people, you're going to be on their mind. They're not going to forget about you. Because when we think about the word experience, it invokes a reaction. It's unique. It's not something that's customary. It invokes a feeling. It's anticipatory. There's a reaction behind it. It leaves an impression. That's what an experience can do. That's the power of an experience. I want to ask everybody, do you remember the first time you fell in love? When, maybe as a teenager for that very first time, you had the sweaty palms, the butterflies in your stomach, all those, bodily feelings that go around with, falling in love for that very first time. Well, that same chemical reaction that happened to you way back when, that's the power of an experience, because that same chemical reaction, that's happening for our customers. It's science, it's brain science. We have our three chemicals. We have dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical produced by the brain that has a role in motivation. It's released after you exercise, after you have a bite of really good food. It's also released after a successful social interaction. Next, we have serotonin. That's the happiness chemical. So that's released when we feel happy, and it makes us, feel light. And that's the release of serotonin. And finally, we have oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone. That affects women more than men, but that's when you create a relationship and oxytocin is released. When that chemical reaction happens, that bond that's formed, that relationship that's created, that's unstoppable. And that's what an experience is all about. It's not just the fluff. It's the physical chemical reactions that take place when you go up above your call of duty and you go from a transactionary service and you create interactions, create memorable moments, and start creating relationships. Because the power of an experience lies in the emotional connection you create with your guest. The experience is nothing if we don't have an emotional connection. If we don't try to engage with those around us, then there's no experience. And if you don't make an emotional connection with your customers, then satisfaction in and of itself is worthless. So this quote comes from the organization Gallup, who worked alongside the Harvard Business Review, and they interviewed about 1,000 different companies, and they were looking for a correlation between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. And they started to come with some unusual results, where they had customers that were highly satisfied. So they were selecting, if you had a bar 1 to 5, they were selecting 4 or 5 highly satisfied. But those same customers, they were defecting. They weren't loyal. So what was going on? Well, the research came back that satisfaction in and of itself was not enough to predict loyalty. What instead they needed to do was they asked the customers questions. Do you have a sense of pride when you do business here? Are you passionate about doing business here? Do you have confidence in the business that's being done here? Is there a sense of integrity in this business? All these words that invoke a more, emotional connection and a more of a in-touch emotional relationship. When they asked those questions, there was a direct correlation with loyalty. Because satisfaction in and of itself, again, you can be satisfied with a service and still defect because down the street, somebody else is offering that same service for half the price. Satisfaction in and of itself was worthless without an emotional connection. So what's the solution? How do we create businesses where our employees are empowered to create these kind of connections, where they know how to create these kind of connections? Because I'm sure you're thinking of your day. And of course, we can think of the clients that are very fiercely loyal to our business, but we also have a whole other flow of people that are coming in and out of our business that we see them once and we never see them again. How do we close that door? What's the solution here? So, what's the key to building a world-class customer experience? Is it having an amazing culture? Is it training? Is it hiring? Now, of course, this is a nuanced answer, but if we had to give something, that 51%, the answer is training. So this quote came from Disney. We don't put our people in Disney, we put Disney in our people. That all goes to say that the client, that employee pool that we're hiring from for our little auto repair shops, our large auto repair shops, is not so different than the pool of people that Disney hires from, that the Ritz-Carlton hires from, that Chick-fil-A hires from, that Starbucks hires from, these world-class customer experience organizations. We're hiring from the same pool of people. Yet these other businesses are able to offer that amazing world-class experience. How do they do it? This is from the Ritz-Carlton. Our ladies and gentlemen come from the exact same labor force, background, and quality of life as our competitors' labor force. We're not paying a premium. We pay the same as others in our industry. It's really what we do when they join our family. We create guidelines for how people are to perform. So research says that when we hire somebody onto our team, that initial period of hiring somebody on and bringing them on, that orientation period, that is the most powerful time you have with a person. That's when the brain is ready to take on new skills, it's ready to learn new patterns. Hiring and training, that is crucial. You need to have programs and processes in place when you bring new people on your team to set them up for success. Because the truth is, we can never expect our customers to be happier than our staff. We want customers that are not only loyal to our brand, but we want customers that are our brand evangelists, that are shouting about our brand from the rooftop, that are bringing in their friends and family. We can't have that if we have staff that could care less, that are falling asleep on the job, or that are giving 25%. We need people that are ready to bring energy into this job, because offering an amazing customer experience, as you're going to see, it's not overly complicated, but it does require energy and it does require a certain service aptitude. So service aptitude, when we bring people onto our team, our number one focus, and my number one focus, is looking for somebody that has a high service aptitude. There are lots of people out there that may have this, and if they enter the wrong role, if they're not shaped or they're not encouraged, then that service aptitude is not allowed to flourish. I'm looking for people that have a high emotional intelligence. So they're ready to learn and they're ready to be engaged with their customers. The definition of service aptitude is a person's ability to recognize opportunities to exceed a customer's expectations regardless of the circumstances. I'm looking for somebody who's willing to go outside the box, who's willing to get creative, do whatever it takes to come up with a solution. And where does this come from? Because yes, you're going to get people that you can tell sitting across from them, this is somebody who's driven for the customer, but the majority of people won't enter your business with a high service aptitude. that's shaped from their previous life experience, previous work experience, and their current work experience. So you have to imagine if we take a brand like the Ritz-Carlton, their team members who are staffing those hotels, those 5-star luxury hotels, there's a good chance those people are not themselves patrons of the hotel. And when you think about your repair shop, think about the last time that you've gone and gotten your car fixed. Probably never. When was the last time your service advisor went somewhere to get their car fixed? Probably it's been a very long time. We are not the clients of our own business. So we need to create this ability for our team members to be able to step into the shoes of our clients and really think like them and think outside the box to offer an amazing experience. Because at the end of the day, it's not the employee's responsibility to have the high service aptitude. It's the company's job to give it to them. And how do we do that? Constant trading. And customer experience is what we talk about, what we live, what we breathe every single day. And without that, by not doing that, you're leaving money on the table. That's low-hanging fruit, talking about customer experience. So let's quickly talk about the state of service. Let's understand what's happening right now and where things are going. We're going to look at the current status quo and why it's just not good enough anymore. Sale, 50% off. We've all seen it before. We see it constantly. We have a little snarky line that we say as customer experience enthusiasts. Sales, advertising, discounts, these are all the tax that you pay for offering an average experience. But if you are needing to discount your service time and time again, and that's what you feel like you need to do to get people to come through your door, I'm going to challenge you right now. There's another full avenue of opportunity that's being untapped, and that's the customer experience. Because this conventional model of how we've always done business, that is not good enough. That model for driving business, that's not going to cut it anymore. Do you really want to be the cheapest? The race to the bottom is just that. That's not a race I want to be a part of. A question that scared me when I first opened our repair shop. And you would hear it all the time. Somebody down the street's doing that cheaper. Can you match that price? Or, why are you so much more expensive than the shop over here? And that would trigger in me an anxiety and insecurity. And, I'd want to rush to match a price or drop our price. That race to the bottom doesn't serve you. Now, when I hear that question internally, I think to myself, good. I don't want to be the cheapest. I actually take pride in being more expensive than the average shop around us. I take pride when somebody comes in and says, well, you're more expensive than the dealer. And of course, I'm not saying that overtly, but I know that I offer an experience that you're not getting at the dealer. So that's fine. I don't need to compete with them. I want you to instead think, what would I do if I was charging $1,000 for an oil change? What would that look like? What would you do as part of that service? We did this with my team and we got really creative with all the ideas. And when you think like that, when you think about the experience and you think about, our basic service offering through that lens, you can start to see how price becomes less and less relevant. The question isn't, how much can we charge the maximum? That's not the question, but we're looking to provide a service that they can't receive anywhere else. So price is not the number one controlling factor on them doing business with me. Perception is reality. It no longer matters what you think great service is. It only matters what the customer perceives to be great service. Now, again, this can be a tough pill to swallow for those of you who've been in the industry for a long, long time, because we have preconceived notions of how things have been done and how things should be done. But those preconceived notions, they don't serve you. This study was done by Bain and Company, and they came around and as for the first graph, they asked 300 different organizations. They asked the question, do you offer a superior customer experience? Well, 80% of those organizations said, yes, we do. Well, I bet you can guess where I'm going here. That second graph, 3,000 customers, they asked the question. These are customers of those businesses. And they asked that same question. Do those businesses offer you an exceptional customer experience? Only 8% of those customers said yes. Only 8%. That perception of amazing customer experience that we offer, our perception is not reality. It only matters what the customer perceives. If we want to join the ranks of these world-class customer experience companies, we have to be different. We have to be willing to think outside the box. And just like I said earlier, expertise, you've been doing this business for 20, 30 years, is oftentimes the enemy of innovation. Our preconceived notions of how we run a repair shop and how we provide a service, they don't serve you right now. The picture there is of Southwest Airlines. So back in the 90s, Southwest Airlines used to have the lowest customer satisfaction ratings, the absolute lowest. And the reason for that was they had a very, very slow turnover on airplanes. So they were always falling behind. Well, Southwest Airlines, they looked at themselves and they thought we needed to fix this. But instead of looking within their industry for a solution, they looked external and they went to NASCAR and they watched pit crew and how did they, do that very, very fast service on those cars. Southwest Airlines went from 55 minutes on a changeover to 15 minutes in a changeover. They became the highest rated customer experience, highest level of customer satisfaction out there for clients. That's amazing. And they did that by looking outside their industry. So when we need to start getting creative here about what changes we can make, don't stay in the lane of auto service. Look elsewhere. Because when we look at what our clients are comparing us to, our clients are only sometimes comparing us to other repair shops. In general, when they're documenting and they're clocking the experience they had with us, they're comparing and contrasting to all the experiences they have with doing business elsewhere. The amazing experience they had that morning at Starbucks dealing with a teenage cashier who was really warm and kind and called them by their name. The experience they had at Costco where they had to do a return and they were received immediately and treated kindly and not dealt with suspicion. When our clients come to us, they're comparing their experience doing business with us, not to the rest of the auto industry. Because if we did that, the bar is low. We know that. We know that the bar in the auto industry needs to be raised, and it will be raised. And those who think it's not going to be, you're already too late. The bar is being raised, and we need to up the ante because that's where our clients are forming their opinions about us. If we looked at Starbucks, they took a basic cup of coffee that was, $1.50, $2, and now you can go into Starbucks and easily pay $11 for a coffee. Easily. And they have a line out the door. They didn't want to do the norm. They wanted to create something that had a million customizations and was personal and was unique. Don't give the customers what they want. Give them something they can't live without. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. We need to be that one step ahead of the norm if we want to be creating something amazing. So what is the customer experience revolution? And is that where we're going? So the customer experience revolution is a radical overthrow of the norm and the status quo of how business has always been done. It's going to transform the experience for your clients, and it's also going to transform the experience for our employees. Because we know what it feels like doing business in a place where people are unhappy to work, well, then clients are unhappy to come there, and your clients don't treat your employees very well. And then in turn, your employees don't treat your clients very well, and it's miserable, and culture takes a hit. And then it's hard to keep employees. And it's hard to pay more money to get more employees because you're not making money. That negative spiral that so often takes place, we so often see it. We're looking to combat that with a customer experience revolution. And what does that look like? It means instead of price wars, we're looking at experience wars. Because if you're not offering an amazing experience, your customers will leave. That's where I want to compete. I don't want to compete in price. I want to compete in experience. If I hear another shop, somebody left because they got a better experience somewhere else, that's what keeps me up at night. If somebody's leaving because they got a better price somewhere else, I can stand to let that go. But if they left because they had a better experience than at my shop, that's what keeps me up at night. And that's the era that we're entering into right now. So one I've mentioned already, making price less relevant. So that's achieved when customers are so happy with you, they have no idea what the competitors charge. It's not going so far to say that we've done something, we've become this amazing customer experience organization that we can charge whatever we want. That's not what we're saying. We're saying we charge what we charge, and our customers, they always say yes because they have no idea what the competitor down the road charges because they don't care to know. What's coming is a paradigm shift from a commodity, so a service, so that customer service that you can get anywhere, to an experience you can only enjoy with us. Competing in customer service, where we're talking about something that's not memorable, something that's mundane, that it's average, versus competing in the experience, that's where we're going. And that's where you can offer something truly amazing and something that's really unique. So let's talk about offering a 5-star experience and what that looks like. Now, whenever I do this presentation, I have lots of eyes in the audience that always kind of roll when they think of offering a 5-star experience at a repair shop. Because the association that comes from a 5-star experience is often one of luxury and very expensive. And we write it off immediately as something not attainable. Well, I'm here to break that stereotype down. When it comes to offering a 5-star experience, it's a lot of things, but one thing that it's not expensive. It's being emotionally in tune to your customers and willing to do what it takes, the consistency, having a high emotional intelligence, and willing to be on stage every time you step foot in front of your clients. Okay, to start, number 1, what you say and how you say it matters. I'm talking about elevating the standard here. Raising the bar on what it looks like to do business with somebody. Having that elevated language. So the easy example here, we're not saying no problem anymore. Why? No problem is a double negative. And whether or not internally you hear it, the connotations there are negative. Instead, we're going to say, my pleasure. So somebody says, thank you for doing that, instead of no problem, my pleasure. A little elevated language. It sounds nice. It feels nice to the customer. When I had my first experience, one of the organizations that is a world-class organization in customer experience is Chick-fil-A. I was down in the States with my husband and we went past one and I thought, we have to try this out just to compare, see if they, their actual performance shakes up to what I've heard. Well, we entered this long, long lineup. And it's a hot day. It's a long line. There's a McDonald's across the street that has no lineup, but this Chick-fil-A around the block. But we decide we have time, so we'll stay in the lineup. Well, we're probably still about 15 cars away from the front when it's somebody from Chick-fil-A walks up to our car. He's got a plate of little pops. He knocks on the door and says, "Is this your first time here? Welcome. I'm so sorry about the line. Can I offer you a refreshment?" First of all, blown away. He asked our name and We told him that we'd never been here before. He made some suggestions. We took our little drinks, thought that was amazing. That was so nice. If he had just done that, that would have been enough. Finally, we get to the board, and it's a menu board like we're all used to seeing. But beside that board was this is another high school kid. He's standing beside the board. And before somebody asks us what we're going to take, what we're going to order, he says, "Can I help you? I heard," and he addressed us by name. He said, "Elisa, Andrew, I heard this is your first time here." We were blown away. How did he know our name? He says, "I heard this is your first time here. Can I make some recommendations? You have to try this sauce. This is a really popular item. You should get that." We were amazed. We carry on. Again, somebody's there to take payment. They're not taking payment from a window. They're outside the window. They're in person with us. They're one-to-one. They're level with us. They take our payment. They say, "Thank you for coming, Elise and Andrew. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for trying us out." Finally, last point of reference, we get our food. One final time they address us by name. And they say, "Thank you so much for coming." They thank us. They said, "We put some extra sauce in. This is your first time in case you wanted to try a couple different options." We walked out of that experience, our jaws on the floor. These were high school kids that were offering this amazing experience. And every part of that experience was so thought through. The language these kids were using was so elevated. There was no casual haze. It was all very formal hellos. They were using our names. They were speaking complete sentences. Tone matters. When it comes to communication, only a very small percentage of it is actually the words that we speak. Tone is the bigger factor on how we receive that communication. Tone matters. And when I say that, I mean bring some energy. This is where I can get hot when I get in front of a room of advisors. If people are willing to either pick up the phone and call your operation, or they've walked in through your front door, I want you to bring some energy when they're in front of you. People are willing to exchange money for energy. The better the energy, the more they're going to pay. And if you don't believe that, then let me tell you, you're not in the same business that I am, because I see it time and time again. The shops that are willing to go that extra mile, that when somebody walks through their door, they're standing up. It's my pet peeve when I walk into repair shops. When they have an advisor that's sitting behind the desk, barely looking up, not going to stand up, hiding, sitting down. If somebody's coming into your shop to spend money with you, they've chosen you, you better bring some energy. So from the Chick-fil-A example, you already know their name matters, so use it. This is a big one for me. It's a sign of respect. It's a sign that you are taking some time to get to know them, that they're engaging with you in a way that's meaningful to them and meaningful to you. Starbucks created a whole business around this. Do you think that wasn't intentional when they started taking names and started saying, "Elisa, your coffee's ready"? Because that feels good. That makes me feel important. And that matters. Obviously, customers don't expect you to know their name on their very first time in. But one thing, you better be asking for it. And once you know, you better be using it. I'm not talking about something robotic, but every phone conversation, once you've assessed their name and you know that, you should be using it 2 to 3 times. This is a really, really big point. And if you don't believe me, go try it. I promise you it'll make a difference. This is a quote from Dale Carnegie. "A person's name to that person is the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Better believe that this works." Next, show genuine interest. It's not about you. We make decisions from the feelings that we have, not the facts and figures. As humans, we're emotional creatures. What makes us decide to do business? It's that connection that we have. And we all know what it feels like, that stereotypical greasy car salesman, and we know how turned off that can make us. Whereas somebody who's genuinely interested in getting to know you, all our customers want is someone that's nice to them, that remembers them, that's genuinely grateful to serve them. So the genuine hospitality, the 5 E's. So we have eye contact, enthusiasm, an ear-to-ear smile. They're willing to engage and they're willing to educate. So this is also a rubric for shop owners out there. This is also a rubric I use when I'm hiring. I have my little check marks down and I will note how often I see a big ear-to-ear smile, how often I get eye contact, how often they're enthusiastic when they're talking to me. Because if somebody can't do this in an interview to sell themselves, do you think they're going to do it when they're selling your products? So the 5 E's of hospitality: eye contact, enthusiasm, ear-to-ear smile, engagement, and education. And next we have my connection formula. So to start, we have compassion and empathy. If you take one thing away, this is a superpower. Compassion, the desire to do good for somebody else, the desire to help somebody else, and empathy, that being able to step into somebody else's shoes. This is an incredible tool. And those people that come to you, if you're hiring somebody and maybe they don't have the most auto skills, but you can tell that that person is compassionate, that that person has a high empathy rating, I would hire that person all day long. This is a superpower for any salesperson, anybody dealing with people. Next, we have reveal vulnerabilities. Now, obviously, we do this within reason, but it's showing the human side. It's how we engage with people. It's how we can create connections, engage genuinely. Nothing's worse than that fake salesperson. Actively listen. Now, we used to previously say to be a good listener is to be a sponge, where you're just receiving knowledge, receiving knowledge. We talk differently now, and we say to be a good listener is to be a trampoline, where you're taking ideas and you're ping-ponging it back and you're participating in the conversation. I don't want to hear dead silence. As somebody talking and communicating, I want to hear back and forth. I want to have a conversation. Next, take time. This one is the biggest shift in the business structure. To do this and to offer an amazing customer experience, it doesn't happen quickly. And advisors need time to connect with people, to get to know them. Doing this and doing this properly does take time. Finally, evolve the relationship. People are going to be changing. We're hoping to have relationships that last decades. So be willing to change. So we've all probably heard of the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. I'm bringing to the table the platinum rule. Treat others the way they need or want to be treated. We all have different perceptions on what amazing customer service is. You saw that slide earlier. We want to be treating people the way they want to be treated. And how do we know how they want to be treated? Because we're actively listening and we're offering a very, very high level of service. If we shoot for that bare minimum status quo, sure, there's going to be some people that are okay with that. But there's going to be a lot of the population who can find better service, and they will go find better service elsewhere. We're looking to be anticipatory. We're treating them the way they want to be treated. This is from Howard Schultz from Starbucks. We're at our best when we're creating enduring relationships and personal connections, when we're fully engaged with, connect with, laugh with, and uplift the lives of our customers. Even if it's just for a few moments, it's about the human connection. This 5-star experience I'm hoping you're seeing so far is about connection. There's nothing expensive that we're doing here. It's about connection and connecting. Okay, collect golden nuggets. Now, this is where you go above and beyond. This is how you surprise and delight your customers. And it can be the more difficult element to implement. But we do have systems and processes that we can help in structuring this. So what do I mean by collect golden nuggets? A golden nugget to me is these small little details that I gather from my customers because I'm acting as a detective when I'm talking to them. I am actively listening. If somebody mentions, I can't drop my car off until tomorrow morning, I have my son's hockey practice tonight, or at my son's hockey game tonight, I say, okay, no problem. I'm going to write in their system that they have a son who plays hockey. So when they come in that morning, I can say, oh, how did your son do at the game? Small little details that show that you're listening, that the client would say, oh, wow, how did they know that? That's what we want them to ask. We want them to ask, how did they know that about me? So golden nuggets, these little above and beyonds, they should be low or no cost, very simple to execute, and zero impact on productivity. We're going to talk about these a little bit more when we get into the secret service section. I'm going to give you a framework though to kind of capture that information. We use the acronym FORWARD, and it stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams. In my notes tab on my operating system, I have a note under every single client, and every single client, I have this acronym that we fill out. Every detail I can learn, I'm putting in there because I'm not looking to just get business once, to just have a high work order once. I'm looking to create relationships that last decades. And you do this by knowing somebody, because I promise you, if you know somebody's forward, you know what's most important to them, you own that relationship. This is what the experience is all about. It's about knowing somebody, having that connection. And when you know this about somebody, you own that relationship. And you are the experience. Advisors, managers, owners on the counter, the ones who are dealing with the people, you are the experience. That's what people are going to remember. For Maya Angelou, I've learned that people will forget what you've said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so, like we said at the beginning, service is forgettable. Service in and of itself is not memorable. But how you make somebody feel by offering them an amazing experience, that's what they're going to remember. And that's what they're going to talk to their friends and family about. Finally, be intentional. This does not happen by itself. You need to know your why when you're starting this journey. We have to create processes and systems in place. We have to do that, but be very intentional about why we're doing this. What motivates you to get up every morning? Why are you passionate about this? For me, I have very little passion for cars. Admittedly, that is not why I joined this career, but I love people. I love working with people. And on the consulting side, I love working with other shop owners. That gets me up every day. And that's that intention that drives me when I want to work with people and want to offer them an amazing experience. And this is a good question to do with your team. What is your why? Ask your advisors. Pull it out of them. Why do they do this? What motivates them? Okay, secret service. So this is one of my favorite parts about offering an amazing customer experience. I really think that this is what elevates us and it sets us apart. So it's a strategic approach to business that allows us to differentiate ourselves from our competitors by allowing our frontline employees to engage with our customers in a very personalized way. We're anticipating and we're fulfilling customers' needs in a way that fosters that emotional bond using systems and standardized processes that are very strategic in creating that relationship. So we're doing this because we've gathered really good customer intelligence, and we have Ford. We're gathering that information. So secret service, it creates a memorable experience by engaging the customers, personalizing the experience, remembering their preferences, distinguishing between new and returning and VIP customers, anticipating and delivering on their unexpected needs. So I got married this January, and as a part of that journey, I really dove deep into the world of facials, of skincare. So I went to the spa quite frequently, and it was my first time trying out a new spa. And over the phone, they had asked me, this was back in the summer, they had asked me, why are you coming in? Is this a special occasion? And I said, well, I'm preparing for my wedding. I just want to make sure that everything's as good as it can get. Well, I walked in, and first of all, they greeted me. I walked up to the counter and they said, hi, Elisa, nice to see you. I was impressed. They knew my name. And I thought about it and I was like, okay, yeah, they probably scheduled me, so there was only one person coming in at that point. So that makes sense. They could know my name, but I was still impressed. Next, I get my tour, I get my bathrobe. It's all pretty standard spa services. I get to the back, the lounge area. Somebody walks up to me with a glass of champagne. Elisa, I heard you're getting married. Congratulations. We're so happy that you're here. Somebody else, they just walked, they hadn't greeted me up front. They didn't know my name. They had this spa had systems in place where that they could show pictures of customers coming through so that everybody could recognize. I was greeted by first name by so many people that day. Those kind of details, I was wowed. And you best believe I went to that spa religiously, that same spa, all the way up until my wedding day. And every single time I went back, they would say, "Wedding's coming up. Are you excited?" Because they knew me, they wanted that connection. And that's what this is all about. So, how do we do Secret Service? It's about hidden systems, customer intelligence, silent cues. We're asking our advisors to be detectives, and we're using visual triggers to get it done. It should be low or no cost things that we're doing, very simple to execute consistently, zero impact on productivity, and, um, and make an immediate impact on the customer. Okay. Okay, so one of the ways that we do this, distinguishing between new and returning customers, we use a different key tag for new customers. So that way the technicians, they leave a little note saying, "Welcome for coming, welcome to Upper James Auto Pro, thank you for choosing us." They put that in the car with their business card. There's all sorts of things that you can do for that new customer, as long as you know they're the new customer, and everybody down the chain does as well. So distinguishing between the new and returning customers. Anticipating and delivering on customers' unexpected needs. What about having Father's Day cards on the front counter as Father's Day is coming up? A nice little touch for somebody as they're walking through, or roses for somebody to buy on Valentine's Day. Um, those little extra soft benefits that you want to offer. Maybe you want to offer free oil top-ups to your customer in between oil changes. Those soft benefits to dealing with you that make it so that they wouldn't want to deal elsewhere. Personalizing the experience by asking somebody, "What's the occasion? Are you planning on taking this car for any trips?" So you can know the details about their lives. And then you can give it back to them in the form of a greeting card, in the form of, having somebody ask about their preferences. Finally, remembering the preference. If you find something out about somebody, you better use it, and you better be willing to remember it every single time. You have to have processes in place to take in that information, and then you have to be willing to use it and demonstrate it back. We have our technicians, they're always on the hunt, and they put little notes in the system. They look at the coffee order. So somebody's left a coffee cup in the car, and yeah, somebody might hear that and say, "That sounds weird." But have you ever surprised somebody with their exact coffee order? Have you ever seen that look on their face when you get it exactly right? Because you were the detective and you were looking and you were watching. Those are the things that really wow people. Secret Service is how you really wow somebody. There is an art to offering an amazing experience. It involves processes, it involves, highly dedicated systems, but at the end of the day, offering an amazing experience is an art form. And it involves creativity. There should be some passion behind it. So as we close up, because I'm just running out of time, as we close up, what I want to empower you with is service, how we've always done business, offering just the average. That's not good enough anymore. You need to tap into what drives you to show up for your customers, what drives you to show up for your staff. And you need to tap into that and look to create an experience with your employees, but also with your customers that is personal, that is meaningful, and that people will not soon forget. So I'll leave us on that note. Do it.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. That was a really good session. I really enjoyed listening to it, and I think I can speak for everyone when I say there was some incredible insights in there for us as well. And if any of you had to hop off in the middle, you weren't able to catch all of that, the session will be available on demand for the next 60 days. Give us a couple of hours, we will get it all set up for you, and then you can always come back and watch the recording. And I'd also just like to take a minute to say, Thank you so much to Beach Consulting, the company that Alyssa's from, for also being a silver sponsor for today's event. We really appreciate your support and in helping make all of this possible. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be starting our final set of sessions in the auditorium. And after that, we will have a fun after party where we will be announcing the winners of all the fun games we've had going on throughout the day. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you once again, Alyssa.
Thank you.